You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio. We are a network of shows with a lineup that's sure to raise your vibrations and guide you into your best life. Tune in on Sundays to Everyday Psychic Radio. On Mondays, it's the Alchemy Sisters. Tuesdays, it's Radical Spirituality. On Wednesdays, it's All for One is Love. And on Fridays, take a listen to Rain Radio. Amazing shows produced just for you 5 days a week, only on Blog Talk Radio. This is a Heart Over Ego Radio production.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rain Radio, where we have juicy conversations that lead to powerful transformations. We are your hosts. I'm Naomi Calderon.
And I'm Lila Sage. And today, I'm super excited because I get the pleasure of interviewing Miss Naomi. So, grab your journals. This will be good. Grab your drink, put on your crown, and let's chat. First, about what's in your cup.
I am on the road today, so I'm away from home, but I do have my travel mug filled with lemon water with a little bit of honey.
That sounds good.
Or as I like to call it, hot lemonade.
I love a good hot lemonade.
Right?
We
what
have
drinking
snow.
Today?
I should have hot lemonade.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's still winter. It really is still winter.
I won't tell you what temperature it was yesterday then.
Well, I mean, it wasn't winter over the weekend, but...
But it's winter today.
Winter today. I am drinking pink cranberry juice, which is a weird time. My mouth isn't sure what to make of it yet. But we're going to roll with it.
Okay. Not even
sure. So, I wasn't sure what it is either. That's why I bought it.
All right, then.
My cranberries come in pink. Okay. Let's see what this tastes like. It's not sweet. I'll tell you that.
Pucker up, baby. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. So, Miss Naomi, tell us all about you.
I don't think we have quite that long. Tell you about me. I am a recovering personal trainer. So, as you know, and some of the people who are listening may know by now, I am a coach, a speaker, and trainer. And people often ask how I got into this, and I started out in the wellness industry as a personal trainer and yoga instructor. And then, business evolution happened and my own personal evolution happened. And so now I work one-on-one with clients, group programs. I love leading workshops and trainings. I'm a huge nerd, so yeah. My focus is on seasonal living and adrenal health and really being able to keep rocking your body and your business both at the same time. That's business side. I'm married to an amazing man. My half side is a native elder, and he comes from a line of medicine people, so it's often a very interesting time. I always joke that we should have our own reality TV show. That just kind of gets me a look. So if you ever want to know what kind of a person he is, just go onto Facebook and search for #ShitBearSays, and you'll get an idea of who he is. We own plants, no kids, no pets, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I like that plan of owning plants, but that's probably a different conversation.
Yeah, I don't feel so bad when they die. I just go to Home Depot. There's no...
I was not expecting that at all. Like,
there's not really a morning period. Yeah, it's just, gotta go to Home Depot. So Home Depot, if you'd like to send me a year's supply of plants for saying that, I'm open.
Yes, be useful, Home Depot.
That's right.
I have a different relationship with plants. I cry when they die, but I also don't have pets. I have people, so, you know.
Yeah.
Recovering personal trainer. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So when I got into training, it was really awesome because I was unhappy and unhealthy, and I discovered a book by Bill Phillips called Body for Life, and they were normal people with these really amazing stories, and that's what got me into fitness. So I started getting in shape, and then I hit a plateau. And a friend of mine who was also into fitness, his name was Eric, he introduced me to Robert, who was a personal trainer, and he asked me the question, yeah, you're skinny, you look great, all that, but what do you look like naked? And I just went, oh shit, you know. I was a skinny fat person, so I was thin, but I had a pretty high body fat percentage because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I hired him, and he kicked my ass in a really amazing way. I got in incredible shape, and I decided I wanted to be able to help other women do this. Sorry, men, but my focus at that point in time was women. Although I ended up over the course of all of my years, I did have a lot of male clients. But the reason I was focusing on women at that time is before I even walked through the doors of the gym, I started breaking a sweat because I was so intimidated about going in there because I didn't know anything. But then fast forward, once I'd learned the stuff and I got certified and I started working with people, I started getting really obsessive. I used to just look at everything like, but this is just, I'm eating to plan and I'm eating for fuel. But it was to the point where, and I don't think that's a bad thing. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're like, I do that and I think that's a really healthy thing, it can be. Eating to plan itself is not bad. For me, what was underneath all of it was the need to control everything. And so I got really obsessive about food and about my workouts and about life and got very rigid. And so within that, that need to control everything is what was driving it all. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with being a personal trainer. I don't think there's anything wrong with eating to plan. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at food as fuel and having that fuel your workouts. That in itself is not bad and wrong. For me, though, it was an obsession. So I had to basically put myself through recovery. So I'm a recovering personal trainer.
I love it.
Yep. I still work out. I work out differently now. There's a lot of old habits that like to try to creep into my workouts. I just believe in having a different balance with it.
I love how much you love that word.
Balance. This is the one place I think it applies. I have to, but it is also harmony that has to be created. It's a different, I approach it differently. It's a different approach.
So you said something that is going to spark where we go next.
Okay.
You needed to control everything.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So when we think about being in charge of our own lives and living our lives on our terms, how is needing to control everything a bad thing?
I prefer now to look at it as that I have a lot of things to manage. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things in life I get to manage right now. I manage things within my relationship. I manage things in my business, but I don't control them. When I'm feeling the need to control stuff, that presupposes that some shit's out of control. Or at least that's how I'm feeling. There's a panic that goes with it for me, anyway. There's also an inflexibility, and there's an attachment to the outcome. So when I'm feeling like I have to control everything instead of, it's almost like I'm separate from it, and I just keep picturing this stranglehold of things, rather than a being in it and moving with it and being a part of it, whatever it is. If I'm having to control my relationship, can I actually be in my relationship?
I love that.
So not what I was expecting was going to come out of my mouth, but I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to this. That was really good.
And don't you love it when that happens?
I really do, because it's like, so that's what's really underneath it for me. Awesome. Awesome.
Speaking of living life on your terms, can you give us like a snapshot of some of the terms for you? Because I know that life is really dynamic, so if you don't want to tell the whole world your entire life, we will allow that. But can you give us an idea?
Maybe. I'm not even sure what that means. For those of you who don't know, I'm a very detailed person, and that's a really big picture question. So I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell you what came up as you asked it.
Yes,
so
I like that.
For me, when I think living life on my terms, I think, what's the perfect day in the life of me? And for me, the perfect day in the life of me, I'd wake up probably around 6:30. I'd have my time to read, my time to have my tea or coffee or whatever I felt like drinking that day, maybe some time to journal and meditate, maybe some exercise, but maybe that'll go midday. I don't know. And then get into work, not really talking to anybody or doing any work till like 9.
So what I hear you saying is we need to move prayer call to 9.
Oh, even if we could move it to 7:30. But here's the thing, because when I think of life on my terms, that's the utopian a day in the life of Naomi, what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, instead, my alarm goes off about 5:15, and I'm on the phone at 5:30. Well, so why in the world would I do something that goes against my utopian day in the life of me?
Do tell us.
And here's the thing. Because it sometimes we have two opposing things that we want in life, or contradictory. They may not be completely opposing, but contradictory things. I want to be on those prayer calls. I want to be in community. Those calls make such a difference to my existence. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Lila and I and another coach and healer friend of ours, Lisa, are on a call. Now, it happens to be 5:30 my time. It actually is a lot later, because initially when I jumped on these, it was 4:30? Or was it 4? 4:30?
I think it was 4.
All I remember, it was ridiculously early, and most of the time I would go back to sleep afterwards until 6. But because of time and schedules and kiddo schedules and whatnot, we've been able to move it back to 5:30 my time. Now for Lila, that's 7:30. That's like a normal speaking time to me. That's much more doable. But it's worth it to me to make the choice to do my days differently so that I can be part of this, so that I can start my day with that community, with that collaboration, with those prayers. And there are some days I'm not up. Or yesterday I was up and showering because I had to leave the house at 6:15. So also,
I love your energy around that. You're like, 6:15.
What? why. But luckily it's not that's not my normal day.
Right. So you've created a life that doesn't include consistent commutes. Like you don't have a 9 to 5.
Mm-mm.
How else have you created a life that isn't standard American, I guess?
I think that's probably, I'll have people, friends from, my past, college, high school, whatever. I had somebody say to me one day, I so envy you. I'm like, okay. Sometimes it's always, the grass is always greener. And when this person said it to me, I was at a point in my life and my business. I was not yet married, wasn't in a relationship of any kind. And I was kind of living at that point in time. I was still trying to figure out the whole being an entrepreneur. Okay, some days I feel like that's still an ongoing process. Because there's always another level. But I was living a little bit hand to mouth. I think I might have been renting a room from a friend of mine at the time too. So also didn't have my own place. Can't remember exactly if I was in my own apartment at that point or not. But so my life didn't look, this person was just like, I just so admire the fact that no matter what, you're going after your dreams. And I was like, what a different picture from her perspective versus what my perspective was at that time. Because my perspective was, I'm tired of getting laid off in the .com crap. So I'm going to shift careers. Now I'm doing something that I didn't go to school for, that I haven't been in very long, and I don't really feel like I know quite yet what I'm doing, But by God, from her perspective, I was willing to live my dream. It was like, some of this felt really accidental. At that point, it didn't yet feel like my dream, but I'm like, okay. So I think that kind of bucks the normal American get a job. I can't tell you how many times those words came out of my mom's mouth. If you would just, because even back when I was working in art and design, I spent quite a bit of my time as a freelancer and doing contract work. So I'd work at one location a couple of months if that's what they needed. Then I might work somewhere else for a day. And then there was another place. It was sort of this ongoing contract till usually it was until whoever the contractor was got tired of putting up with their crap and left. But different projects, different lengths of time. And my mom just saw that as being so unstable. I was like, Mom, I make so much more money as a contractor than if I took a permanent job. And there's a lot more flexibility because if it's a project I don't like, I can say no. Like,
And you can do design work from anywhere in the world where you have your materials.
Exactly. Especially in today's day and age. Absolutely. Back then, not quite as much because dial-up was a thing back then. I'm old. So it's, I guess in some respects, that's been something that is not I think it's becoming more of the norm, actually, if you look at millennials.
Yes.
But I think especially for those of you who don't know, I'm a Gen Xer. So especially for Gen Xers and especially baby boomers, it's freaking unheard of practically. There aren't a whole lot of them that operate in that way. So I think that kind of bucks the system, and that's sort of the living life on my terms that goes against the norm. Did I take us off track, or did that answer the question?
No, that was fantastic. And, we don't really have good tracks, let's be honest.
Right. We have more meandering paths that look like tangled balls of yarn.
That are so much fun to unravel.
They really are.
What's one skill that I'm going to ask this question one of two ways, and you can pick the way you answer it.
Okay.
So what's one skill that you would say is imperative to master in order to live life on your own terms? Or you can talk about a skill that you've had to master personally in order to live your life on your terms. Or you talk about both.
I don't know if is it a skill? I don't know if it's a skill. It might be a skill.
Mindsets or skills.
I don't know if that's a label I'd give it, but it really is a skill. Mastering your self-talk.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I'll be honest, people. I still have days where it's just like, and that's when I call Lila. When my inner chatter is just like, everything's wrong. I do one of two things. Sometimes I do both. I take some wild yam because hormones. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, sometimes I do literally check the calendar. Sometimes my half side will say, have you checked your calendar? And he's not doing it to be a jerk. So any of you who might have just got your panties in a bunch, don't. It's because he knows and understands my cycle better than I do most of the time.
Yeah, it's
and
really
so,
interesting.
Yeah. So it's more of a reminder to me that how I feel in this moment and all this swirling, twirling craziness in my head could have to do with the calendar and my cycle. And to breathe through it is really what he's helping me do. But the mindset, the self-talk, I think, is really critical. It really is.
I'm going to come back to the mindset in 1 second. I have an amusing side note.
Yes.
I set the best boundaries when I'm little. And for those of you who just went, what? We'll talk about it in the future, but the luteal phase is the phase of your cycle between ovulation and period. So just, yeah. Now, about this self-talk.
Yeah.
What was the most impactful shift that you needed to make to go from corporate, I guess, to entrepreneur? Or if there's another area of your life where you were like, I made this mindset shift and I am now in mastery around that.
I think for me, and it had less to do with corporate to entrepreneur and more just in my life, and I know that it has impacted both of those. For me, with how I grew up in a somewhat passive-aggressive environment, not horribly so, just very Midwestern. And if anybody's on the call who's from the Midwest and you just got offended, this is probably a really good place to look then. I grew up in what we somewhat jokingly refer to as a family of dry drunks. You know, my parents didn't really drink ever, but the behaviors, because the isms are never about, it's not about being a workaholic or an alcoholic or a shopaholic. It's the aholic part. It doesn't matter your vice, right? But so the behaviors are what drive the ism. And I was very accustomed to playing in the victim mode of shit. And I don't think it was until I shifted that, and it wasn't a one thing that really stood out. It was a series of things that really helped me to make the decision that that wasn't a space I wanted to live in. What was the first one? There were a couple of books that I read that were really good. I went to an Al-Anon meeting because my grandfather was an alcoholic. I never met him. He died before I was born, but that's part of why my dad rarely drank. My aunt and uncle on my mom's side, there was a lot of alcohol. On my dad's side, one of his brothers, you know, so there was alcoholic behaviors on both sides of the family. And so those behaviors were learned and passed down. and I learned them very well in the victim thing. And what I realize now with the victim thing is oftentimes it's simply that, at least for me, I wasn't taught to ask for what I wanted. I was taught it wasn't okay to want what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be selfish. That's not polite. Be a good girl.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
That makes me so confused.
I know, right? Really, when I think of it, being polite is not bad.
Polite, yes. Kind or nice, no.
Exactly. Nice versus kind. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we did talk about that on a podcast. But the difference, I love, Lila, go ahead and tell the difference, because I love how you put this. It was like such an aha yes.
The definition of nice is rooted in stupid. And being kind means being thoughtful, but when you're kind, you're also considering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when we're being nice, we're only considering other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have specifically taught my daughter not to be nice.
Yeah.
Always be kind, never be nice.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And that typifies exactly what I'm saying is I was taught to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the polite thing to do and minding your manners and all of that. But that being nice puts you in a straitjacket. And it also, I think it teaches, at least that's what I learned, it teaches you that you don't matter as much as the other person, and that frankly is a lot of bullshit.
And we never teach boys to be nice.
No, we teach them to be strong and tough.
Yeah. Which is another interesting thing. So, do you feel like you're there, or do you feel like you're still getting there to the place of asking for what you want?
Can I be both?
Yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes I'm very there. Sometimes I'm very okay with asking for exactly what I want and being able to speak it in a way that, because it used to be when I was first learning how to do it, it would tend to come out aggressive. Or I'd ask and then I'd run and hide.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd ask with an apology attached.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd just come out, both barrels blazing, and I'd demand more than ask, and it was usually with a double-fisted fuck you. Until I got more comfortable, A, with asking, but also primarily be with myself. And really learned that it's okay to want what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that one more time. It is okay to want what you want.
Yep.
You want the last piece of cake on the plate? Have it. You want the blue blanket instead of the green one? Have the blue blanket and force your sister to have the green one.
So, are you okay with sharing with us where you are firmly in I want what I want unapologetically, and where you're still learning?
Sure. I'm going to start with where I'm still learning.
Okay.
One of the biggest places is in my marriage.
Oh. Do tell. I was not expecting that.
Well, because when you're in a relationship, and I don't care if you're married, if you're living with somebody, or you're simply dating someone, or it could be a coworker, it could be a friend even, there's compromise in relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes my Leo shows up and I fucking want what I want. And yet I know that this relationship isn't just about me. I'm a Leo. I can't believe that came out of my mouth. But there's two of us in this dance now.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't me out there doing some solo, tapping away, little soft shoe. No, this is a partnership. And so sometimes I still struggle with what will show up. If there's something that I want, that I'm feeling really adamant about, that I either know isn't going to go over well, or I know is the opposite of what my half side would want, I sometimes still am like, oh, I don't want to have to ask for that. I don't want to have the conversation of, well, we could do this. Because sometimes I don't always feel open. I get kind of attached. This is the controlling piece coming in again, guys. If you can't hear that theme. I sometimes am attached to the outcome. Because if I'm like, hey, I really wish we could do this, or would you be open to if we did X, Y, and Z? I'm not really open to hearing no. I just want the yes, damn it. So sometimes I'm not always graceful in my asking for what I want. So I think there's room for growth in that. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much that I don't ask for what I want. Sometimes it's that I'm not very graceful and I'm not very gracious sometimes in how I ask in my relationship. I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that needs to be a show. I wrote it down.
Oh, good.
Please continue.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest areas where asking, and it's not so much that I don't ask for what I want, just sometimes old habits show up, or I'm so much better though. When I think about when we first moved in together, it'll be 10 years this spring. Night and day difference to how much better I am at saying, hey, this is what I need right now.
Aww.
Yeah. But I would certainly freaking hope so after 10 years. Good God. If not, maybe you ought to rethink the relationship, because maybe that's not the right place.
Maybe, and it may have nothing to do with the relationship. I was reading online recently someone saying that she felt like she took a 2-hour bath, and she felt like she needed to thank her husband for giving her the space to do that. And she's like, and that is utterly ridiculous. It was all her inner dialogue. He's never been like, why were you in the bathtub for so long? What are you even doing in there? Are you remodeling? It was all her internal chatter. So maybe you're in the wrong relationship, or maybe you're just playing the wrong mental tape.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah.
And
what was the other one you asked me? Where am I doing it really well? Mm-hmm. Was that? Oh,
yeah.
I think where I do it best is with people like you. People I would consider my close friends and confidants. Mm-hmm. I think I do pretty well. I tend to be, and maybe this is an entrepreneur thing, maybe it's just because I was single for so long, I don't know. I tend to be a I forget sometimes that I have community that I can lean on when I need it. And over the past 2 years, because it was 2 years ago that we started, you were on your second year of Ask, and it was my first year of Ask.
Yeah, that was 2, yeah.
And that year of Ask, for those of you who don't know Lila and I, Lila did 2 years of her year of Ask. And it was just practicing that muscle of asking. So I'm much better about it in a lot of areas. From at the grocery store, can I have a bag? Can I go in line first? You know, little things like that. That really brought me present to asking. So I think just in general, I'm better at asking now.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with people that like you, that I know I can lean on when I need to.
Yeah. I love it. We could talk for 1,000 years, but you have places to go. So before I ask you the last question, do you have any words of wisdom for the listeners in terms of life mastery?
Yeah, I think this, what I touched on with the whole balance versus things being in flow, as you're going through your own journey, really working to figure out, what does life mastery mean to me? What would my utopian day in the life of me look like? Gee, is it okay to want what I want? When you're asking yourself these questions, putting yourself in the heart of it all, at the center of it all. I know in high school growing up, we'd be like, oh, well, she just thinks she's the center of the universe. Because, you know, bitchy little girls that we were. Maybe it was just me. But this is a time to put yourself at the center of the universe for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And get to know who you are. Get to know what you like, what you dislike, what you stand for, what you stand against. Get to know what feels like nurturing to you. Really get to know yourself. And honestly, that takes intention, time, and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say through all of that, if you can really start to listen, not just to your intuition, but listen to your body. You have so much innate wisdom in that sack of skin you're in. And I think so many of us tune that out because we get so disrupted by life as our culture knows it. Give yourself the space and time to know who you are.
I love it. We're going to stop there because that's perfect.
Awesome.
How do people find you?
You can, that just made me think there's a URL I might have to grab. Remind me to do that later. You can find me currently at naomicalderon.com. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/sunflowersage.
Excellent. And if people are listening to this episode and they are feeling themselves being being busy and overwhelmed, what can they look forward to?
They can look forward to essential energy challenges. I'm doing 5-day challenges seasonally right now. And so with each season, as Chinese medicine looks at seasons, we'll be doing those. So that's a great way to dive in and to start asking yourself the questions and clearing out the clutter of your schedule and your life. So that's kind of a fun one. Or you can simply contact me. Just drop me an email or drop a comment here, reach out via Facebook, and we can set up a discovery call if you're like, yeah, I'm tired of being busy. I want to live life on my terms, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. What the F?
What the F?
What the F? I don't know what the F I'm doing. Help me out. I'm here to help.
Gosh, love it. Thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. So much fun always.
My pleasure. And thank you all for listening. We will talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.